Welcome to Hockey Nights in Vegas, episode 33. My name is Eddie Rivkin. I am joined, as always, by Joe Payne of the Las Vegas Advisor. And, Joe, at the beginning of the road trip, we both said 3 points would be good, 4 points would be great. They ended up with 5 points, but before we get to the recap, we're going to spend some time talking about today's 3-2 victory over the two-time defending champion Tampa Bay Lightning in a 7-round shootout. Now, sometimes Joe and we have a little chat about what we're going to talk about. Today, we basically just said we're going to talk about tonight's game first, and I told him I was going to go on a rant. But Joe said he's already on a rant. So, Joe, you go first, and then I'll start dropping bombs and probably F words.
Here's my question to you, and I asked a friend 10 minutes after the game ended: is it possible to be happy and pissed off at the same time?
This is Webster's dictionary. If you looked at that phrase and you put a picture up,
this game.
That was this game. This was tonight's game.
Unbelievable. Now, good teams find a way to not only win, good teams find a way to get back into the game. And the Vegas Golden Knights dominated this game. I was taking notes during the game for my article. One of my first notes was that Vegas had controlled the first 10 minutes of the game. Then I had to redo my notes to say Vegas controlled the first 40 minutes of the game. And then I redid my notes that all of a sudden Vegas, I don't know if Vegas come out of the locker room for the third period because, and I understand they took a couple of penalties.
Okay. Don't overlook that. Yes, they took 3 penalties, but my first F-bomb of the night, stupid fucking penalties. The Pacioretty penalty was just stupid. And Keegan Colasar, what are you thinking, dude? We're up 2-0. They're getting dominated in the third period, and he wants to try and puff his chest out and knock down a known agitator in Corey Perry. I'm like, right. Kid, you got to stop this. I mean, I said, our friend Dr. Pierce, who we'll talk about a little bit later, said they're having a good game defensively. And I said, if they blow it, it's on 55 for that stupid penalty.
Yeah, it wasn't considered a power play goal because
come on.
had just gotten out of the box. But the truth of the matter is they were still killing because he was in a neutral zone when that puck went in. It was right. It was basically a 5-on-4. Technically, it wasn't a power play goal. And one of my notes that I wrote down is that I think Howden is making a case for himself that he should be playing over Colasar. I mean, the kid is just
he's having a really good run, and Colasar has been our biggest disappointment. If you listen to episode 32,
when we had Chris Chapman on, we all agreed that getting 3 points in this road trip would be good. It wouldn't be great, but it would be good considering the competition. They're coming home with 5, and they basically almost gave away. If they would have lost this game today, Eddie, it would have been very demoralizing. It would have been, you can't expect to be Stanley Cup contenders. And this would have been the second time against Tampa Bay that they blew a 2-0 lead. They blew a 2-0 lead back in December when they had a 2-0 lead on Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay wound up scoring 3 and wound up winning the game, and Vasilevsky stood on his head. And when this game went into a shootout, I thought we were dead. I thought, you got the best goaltender in the world, and then you got Robin Leonard, who, okay, he's been a little bit better this year in shootouts. I believe he actually won. He's won 3 or 4, but prior to that, and then when you think about who he's facing, it's just, I don't know how they got the 2 points today.
Listen, I don't know how a team that good gets outshot 17-0 in the third. Yes, they got a late dump in on goal, and the officials.
Let's not even count.
Right.
Let's ice.
Let's be better than that. They got outshot 17-0 in the third period. Yeah. Nothing. Ungats, I think, is the Italian word.
Ungatsungul, as my grandfather would say. Ungatsungul.
How does a team with $8 left in the salary cap
Do they even have $8 or 8 cents?
How do they get out? I mean, they turtled up. I mean, this is the most maddening part of it. This is the absolute best of the Golden Knights and the absolute worst of the Golden Knights, all in 65 minutes.
65 minutes.
Right? And 7 rounds of a shootout. I mean, this is a different kind of inconsistency. I'm sorry, 4 games in 6 nights. I get it. They did 4 games in 6 nights just a few weeks ago, and they swept the northeast corridor. Okay. Yeah. They got a beach day in between part of this, which they certainly didn't get in New York and New Jersey. But how do they just, after completely dominating, holding the Tampa Bay Lightning to 9 shots after 2 periods, how do they completely mail it in and don't show up for the 3rd period?
You're being nice by saying mailing it in. They were a no-show.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it, and I don't
get it either. And like I said, I'm happy that they're coming home with 5 points.
Yes,
but I'm disappointed.
This could have been. Listen, it was a terrible goal by Leonard that cost them the Florida game. And tonight, they got away with a point that they shouldn't have got away with, right? They should, you know what I mean?
I understand.
This was a distasteful win because they gave up 27 shots between the 3rd period, the overtime, and the 7 rounds of the shootout. 27 shots against. Well, they got 7 in the shootout. They got a couple in OT, which was a little bit entertaining this time. 3.
Actually, the overtime period was very entertaining. And I think, Rob, I've lately questioned the goaltending.
For sure, and rightfully so.
But Robin really has it dialed in. I mean, the 2 goals he gave up today, one literally Whitecloud put in by shooting it underneath them.
Right.
And the other one, actually, all 4 goals that were scored, not the goals in the shootout, all 4 goals in this game were what we call greasy, dirty goals.
Right.
Which is unusual for the Vegas Golden Knights. They don't go to the front of the net, so they don't get it. But, 5 of the 7 goals they scored in this road trip were from the bottom 6 forwards.
How about none from the top 2 lines?
And how about the fact that I know there was at least 4 odd man rushes in the 3rd period, and they got 0 shots.
Okay, that's pet peeve number 2. And I was going to suggest to our dear friend Austin, the editor, that this episode be called "Shoot the Fucking Puck." Okay, 4 odd man rushes, 2-on-1s in the 3rd period.
Oh my!
No shots.
No shots.
7 plus for the game. Not a shot on goal. Not a shot on goal in an odd man rush. These are NHL players making $5, $6, $7, $8 million. Boys, shoot the fucking puck. Seriously.
I don't know if you should call the episode, actually say
that word.
That word. I'm not going to go down the road you went down.
Fine.
But, you can do the little F with the
with all the
fancy words, the fancy graphics. But, I watched this game at home, and I was pulling my hair out. I mean, I don't have much hair left to begin with, but it's just, you can't expect to compete for the Stanley Cup when you play that kind of game, because that's the kind of game you're going to have to play
every game.
You're going to have to win 16 games like that. That's the ice is going to, like you always said, the ice gets smaller, the players get bigger.
Yeah.
And you take a 2-0 lead.
That's got to be done. That game's got to be over.
Yeah.
Over.
Do you think? Okay, Mike. Here's my question to you. Do you think they were tired? Do you think the 4 games in 6 nights and the 2-0 lead, and they thought, "Oh, look at this! We're up 2-0 in Tampa Bay." And we had said this on our last podcast. They play well against Tampa Bay. They always have.
They do, all the way back to Shea Theodore in year 1 with 2 point seconds.
2.3 seconds left to go. But here's my question to you. That was, by the way, that was the first time Robin Leonard's never beat Tampa Bay. So all the success that the Vegas Golden Knights have been previously to Robin.
Right.
He's never beat them. I think he's 0-5-1, and they've all been, well, one of the losses was the one in December where they came back from a 2-0 lead. But do you think they just took their foot off the gas, or you think it might have been
I think that
ran out of steam?
I think that you could say that there's a fair case for them being a little bit tired, for sure. But, you know, you and I both know, and we watch enough games, that Big momentum is a huge thing. And you knew that Tampa was going to push.
There was going to be a push.
And so if we know that there's going to be a push, the Golden Knights shot themselves in the foot with the Pacioretty penalty, and they survived it. And then Keegan Colasar decides he wants to be, you know, big man of the world and take a shot at Corey Perry. And like you said, wasn't a power play goal, but the fifth player wasn't in action in the defensive zone when the goal was 3 seconds after. So they shot themselves in the foot where they gave a little bit of momentum, a whole lot of momentum. They literally defended the entire period. It was like Tampa was on a power play the entire 20 minutes, and they were helpless. And they didn't call. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I was just going to say,
I wonder if maybe they should call, if you maybe would have called timeout.
Well, the last Vegas Golden Knight coach that didn't call a timeout when he should have.
Yeah, I know.
It was game 7.
Yeah.
And the coach of the other team is now behind the Vegas Golden Knight bench. I don't know. Would have been the timeout would have helped? Who knows? It just looks like, and I understand. I mean, you knew that Tampa Bay is too good of a team,
sure,
to not
absolutely
have a push, but to get technically no shots in the third period in a pivotal game. It's not a playoff game, but it's a pivotal game for the psyche of, you're going to have to face, if your intentions are to win the cup, you're either going to have to go through Tampa, or you have to go through Florida. Basically, that's my opinion. You're going to have to beat the Panthers or the Lightning to win the Stanley Cup, and they didn't look real good against Florida. I mean, it was a close game, but they never really were in it. I mean, it was. You
don't think? I thought they outplayed Florida for a good part. I thought they outplayed them for a good part of the game, and they got a little deflated when Robin let in that softie between his arm and in his chest to go down 2-1. I think that really kind of killed the mojo. You throw out the 2 empty net goals, those are not relevant to us talking.
Yeah, it's not
but
relevant.
I thought they were very competitive.
To a sense, I mean, they were. Again, Vegas doesn't go to the front of the net. Their shots that they take are on the perimeter, and even though the Florida was playing their backup goaltender, Bobrovsky wasn't playing. They played Spencer Knight. They didn't really challenge Knight too much. I mean, he really didn't have any 10-bell saves, so to speak, to make, because a lot of their shots are coming from the perimeter. They didn't score one power play goal in this whole entire trip. I think they were
0 for 11.
0 for 10 or 0 for 11.
Oh, yeah.
And
they gave up a shorty, and they gave up a power play goal.
The shorty was the backbreaker.
Yeah, I mean,
that was a Chinese fire drill.
Like you said, we started this out with how can you be happy and mad at the same time?
Watch this game, and you
watch this game. Watch part of the Florida game. They got beat up pretty good by Carolina on the back end of a back-to-back.
Right.
But you know what? Here's the take. Here, I think, is the big takeaway. They got 5 bodies back. The Florida game was the second game all year that the Golden Knights iced a team that will remotely look like the team going into the playoffs. And then they turn around and they lose Chandler Stevenson and Coughlin to Coughlin today.
Well, there's only going to be one more game where they're going to have to deal with that, because after the Buffalo game, there's no more going to be daily testing of the players.
Right.
So we're
asymptomatic, no testing.
Right. Yeah. If you're not really sick, you're going to be able to play. you're not going to get tested. So, you may be feeling great, but if you test positive, according to the NHL, you can't play. Well, that nonsense is going to end on Tuesday, February 1st, or actually February 2nd.
So they're 45 games in. They've iced what will be remotely close to a playoff lineup twice. And the second game being in Florida.
Right.
You can see there's still, they say that there are measuring stick games and there are things like that as the season goes along. I don't think we start taking measuring stick games until we sort of see that Golden Knights lineup for 4 or 5 games. I think that we can take a lot of conclusions. Great depth, right? The epitome of the next man up when we're seeing Jake Lecision and we're seeing all those kids playing vital roles and keeping them, in the mix while they went through this tremendous injury bug. I mean, Colorado's on a rampage right now. Florida's on a rampage right now. Nobody's talking about the Golden Knights. I'm okay with that.
Good. That's good.
I'm really okay with that. Aren't you?
They were all talking about Colorado last year too.
Perfect.
And guess what happened? They lost in 6 games.
I think that we know what we have. We just need to see it a few times to be able to, maybe talk about it some more.
You said that the lineup is coming back. Yeah, granted, we got a lot of bodies back on this road trip, but you can see, at least I can. I'm not sure. And I know you're a keen observer also. Pacioretty and Stone are not up to.
They're not healthy.
I don't know if they're not healthy or they just don't have their timing yet. Because today
how could they have their timing? They've only played with their center for 2 games.
Right. Does Pacioretty miss that shot? 90% of the time, he has a wide open shot there. Vasilevskiy is giving him that top corner over his right shoulder.
Yeah.
He just blew it wide. Even Marchessault had a grade A chance, shot it wide open in that. Over the net. Marchessault I don't think he is missing his mojo, but for sure, Pacioretty and Stone are not 100%. Whether, like you said, whether they rushed them back and there's still lingering issues here, or is it just a matter of their timing and getting comfortable playing again? And they were missing Chandler Stevenson too.
I think it's both. Pacioretty had surgery on his wrist.
Right.
He's a sniper. You need both hands to snipe.
Right.
Mark Stone allegedly has a back issue, right? He may not be 100%. He's looked to me, I wouldn't say a step slow. That would be inaccurate. A little out of the groove of what we've become used to in watching Mark Stone play. And it would surprise me not one bit if in August they told us that, he was dealing with a lingering back injury throughout the season.
He may even have a bulging disc for all we know.
Or something like that.
And you know personally about back pain.
I do indeed. But, I think there's still, we talked about it 8-9 episodes. There's really no reason to panic. The biggest takeaway is we're starting to get some clarity at the bottom of the lineup now. Certain players are playing their way into the lineup, and certain players look like they might be playing themselves maybe a little bit out of the lineup to join us up in the press box.
Colasar.
But
before you go any further on this, he played Nolan Patrick on the first line, and he's done that before, and that lasted about a period before he went back down. But today, he couldn't afford to send him back down because the bottom 6 were playing so well. He had to leave Nolan Patrick up on the top line.
Listen, I think that Nolan, there's a reason that you get picked number 2 in the draft. Okay. And yes, he's been injury prone, and yes, he's had issues and migraines and stuff like that. But we have started to see in him in the last half a dozen games some flashes of that skill level that made him a second overall pick. I see him now seeing the ice better. I see the game slowing down a little bit for him. His first point was the assist, which was the blind drop pass through the slot to Janmark, maybe back 3 or 4.
Resulted in a goal.
Right. So I see market improvement in Nolan Patrick. He wasn't out of place with Stone and Pacioretty today, but he's never. I mean, he had a morning skate with them. Stevenson wasn't ruled out until just before the game. So there's no. We haven't seen, with the exception of the Misfits line, any time for any real chemistry to develop on lines 1, 3, and 4. But we're getting there on 3 and 4.
Yes, on 3 and 4. But you would expect, and we're going back to Nolan Patrick here, you would expect the second overall draft pick to at least get a shot on the net in the shootout. He totally missed the net on the shot.
He did.
I mean, what's up with that? I mean, I understand you got to be almost near perfect to beat Vasilevsky, but if you don't get it on net, there's no chance of it going in.
This is true.
He just what was he thinking? Did he just fluff it? Muff it?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm okay with finally seeing some progress out of him. You know, I think that I mean, Brett Howden and Michael Amadia. I mean, how does George McPhee and Kelly McCrimmon scoop them out?
That's that's a scoop. That's like a Stevenson scoop. Those two
for no go back.
Yeah, no go back on
go back.
Howden, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those two guys look like they would be comfortable playing in the playoffs for the Golden Knights.
They both the Matteo and Howden should be playing before Kolesar gets into the lineup. The only time I think we've realized that Kolesar has hands of stone. You know how they used to say Roberto Duran had hands of stone? Well, Kolesar is the Roberto Duran of hockey. He's got hands of stone. Where Howden and Amadio,
they play free. They play loose and they play free. I gotta believe that Kolesar's gripping his stick. He's got it. I mean, he's hearing it. He has to be hearing it, right? I mean, if I'm Mark Stone, right? You know how we watch the warm-ups before the game starts, and Marchessault stands this far outside of the crease and flips about 90 pucks into each of the upper corners before they start the drills. That should be Kolesar's job. He needs to see himself. It doesn't matter if there's a goalie there right now.
Right.
That kid needs to see the puck go into the net. You know, and I'm not giving up on him, but if he doesn't start to make a significant contribution, he's in serious danger of being the odd guy out.
Well, in my opinion. You remember last year the Golden Knights went out of their way to protect him and not send him down because he was subject to waivers.
Right.
And you thought, okay, they obviously see something in this kid that maybe we're not seeing. Well, now that we've seen him play on a regular basis, I'm not sure what they were seeing that they felt that they couldn't send him down to the Silver Knights because they thought he would get scooped up. Would he get scooped up because of his size? Maybe, but he's not getting scooped up because of his hands. Well, he's got hands. He's not soft at all. You know, as far as soft with the puck. It just
right.
It's frustrating when you got guys like Amadio and Howden, and Howden's got like 6 goals already. He had 1 last year with the Rangers. He's got 6 this year, and he's not playing full time either.
Kolesar is the last vestige of size that they have, and they don't. I mean, we both agree.
Besides McNabb.
Yeah. Okay. On the forward line, we agree that they don't forecheck anywhere as tenaciously as they used to.
Oh my God!
They've become
the meat grinder line.
Yeah.
With Carrier and Reeves they don't hit it anymore either. I mean, their hits are down to low double digits now per game.
So we would say safely, and the example is Tampa Bay, right? The Golden Knights pivoted out of being a crush, kill, destroy, forecheck team into a finesse team with the hopes that they would get more scoring up and down the lineup and be a tougher team to defend against. That won the cup for Tampa twice in a row. They lost their entire third line, and they got a little bit bigger and a little bit more like the Golden Knights were. And I guess only the playoffs will tell if Tampa Bay made the right set of moves. But the Golden Knights are not as difficult a team to play against in the way that they were a difficult team to play against for the first 4 years. Does that make sense? They were much harder on the puck. They were a much more physical. I mean, we talked about it during the episode during the Colorado season last year, that the Golden Knights were the tallest and heaviest team in the NHL last season. I'm not pulling stats out of the sky here. This is true. It's certainly when you add Dodonov and Amadio and Howden, it's not that way anymore.
You're getting smaller. You're not getting bigger.
We're getting smaller. For sure, we're getting smaller.
But you know what? In this current era of the NHL, speed wins. Okay. And
we're going to find out, because it's the only way the Golden Knights are going to win is with speed and structure and system.
right. They're not going to, the Golden Knights are never going to run over anybody anymore.
No.
No. The only person that maybe opposing teams are concerned about is Carrier, who had an excellent game today, too.
He did.
I believe he had a goal and an assist, and he's just playing well. And he's playing well with limited ice time. I mean, he's played well enough that DeBoer puts him up on the first line every now and then when there's a void to fill. That says a lot about what DeBoer thinks about Carrier's ability. You know, I mean, Chris Chapman thought that maybe Carrier wasn't able to finish, but he's not bad. Carrier is not bad. You know, he doesn't have soft hands, but he's able to put the puck in the net, given the opportunity.
Sure.
The same opportunities he's scoring, Kolosov's not.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is.
That's unquestionable.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get away from the two grumpy old men bitching session. It is arguably the toughest road trip in the history of the franchise.
Absolutely.
Right? 4 games, 6 nights against literally the gauntlet of the Eastern Conference, whatever they call the Eastern Conference now. If you add in the Pittsburgh game before that, which didn't go as we suspected, I mean, the Golden Knights, for a team that was out of first place for a couple hours today.
That's because Anaheim played earlier in the day, and they played Ottawa.
Right.
Come on.
And it took 45 saves from Gibson to beat Ottawa today. He had a huge game.
And they made somewhat of a deal about that, but they got like 4 or 5 games in hand on Anaheim also.
Right.
So
I mean, you got to think I think they're okay, right?
Eddie, they're only okay because of where they play. If they were in any other division, they'd be scrambling right now. They're okay because they're in the Pacific Division. Edmonton went from 1st to 7th. Now it's back up to 6th. Anaheim is not a second place team.
Neither is it. But maybe what about the LA Kings?
Yeah, but the team the Golden Knights should be concerned about is Calgary. Calgary, you don't think so, huh?
I think the only reason I'm concerned about Calgary is because the lineage and the resume of their coach. Yeah,
their coach is really got them back on track.
Right.
I watched the game the other night, and I think Tkachuk had like 3 or 4 assists.
Right.
He's just a pesky pain in the ass, so to speak. But no, I think Calgary is going to be a tough out.
Yeah, but the Golden Knights probably won't see them in the first round. So, and then did you see that Cancer scored a goal tonight?
Yeah, I know.
right?
Yeah, but against Montreal, who's got no goaltending.
Right. You know,
Both their starting goaltenders are out. So
right. And in his post game, for those who
well,
don't know, we're referring to Evander Kane. Thank you very much. Cancer, Evander Kane, cancer in the locker room. Yeah, but you know what? Edmonton is Edmonton. They don't have a goalie, and if they don't figure out a way to trade for Marc-Andre Fleury, they're already done.
Speaking of Marc-Andre Fleury, you know, there was another rumor that's been running around that Washington is looking to get a goaltender. And
I saw Washington. I saw Colorado.
Did you hear what Fleury said?
No.
He said, it's kind of hurt a little bit when I heard it. He said, I'm a Penguin at heart, and I could never go to the Washington Capitals.
Well, the problem is that right now Pittsburgh is one of the best teams in the East. And he could very well go back there because Matt Murray.
But Jarry's playing good.
I mean, Jarry, not Matt Murray.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Jarry,
Yeah,
Tristan Jarry.
Yeah, Matt Murray's long gone, by the way.
He's in Ottawa, as a matter of fact. Sorry, it's old age. Sometimes
But
things happen.
I think he might toy with going to Edmonton only to stick it to the Vegas Golden Knights.
Remember that scene in Goodfellas when Joe Pesci pulled out the knife when the body was in the trunk and just give him the fuck hit, right? I could see Fleury making that picture that his agent put out. You know,
whose name would be on the sword? Would it be Foley this time?
Nah, I think he respects Foley.
You think so?
I do, because I think that he looked at the statement that Mr. Foley made and realized that that's from the heart. And Mr. Foley speaks from the heart. He doesn't necessarily speak hockey business 100%, whereas Kelly McCrimmon and George McPhee never veer off the hockey thing. There's still some humanity left in Mr. Foley where he can say things like that and people will just say, you know, that's what he wants. But there is reality.
But so are you saying, am I reading between the lines here? Are you saying Foley sat in that meeting with McCrimmon and McPhee and said, we can't trade Fleury. I told Fleury he's going to retire as a Vegas Golden Knight. And they said, Bill, if you want to win the cup, we can't have $12 million in there.
I think parts of that conversation are probably true, but not in that structure. I don't think he went in there and said, we can't trade Marc-Andre Fleury.
No, I don't think he went there and said that, but I think he said, you know, I've publicly stated that,
I don't think so.
And
I think that Kelly McCrimmon and George McPhee went to him and said, we will not win the cup with 12 million in goal.
Well, basically, okay.
But I don't think there was an outpouring from Mr. Foley to defend his statement is what I'm.
No, but I'm sure knowing Bill, I think, and when I say knowing Bill, I don't really know him. Maybe knowing how he is and how he's very business minded, I think he deferred to McCrimmon and McPhee when they said to him, if you really want to win the cup, we have to move one or two goaltenders. And the smart business move is to move Fleury, because we got Robin at 5, which is a pretty decent price if he plays up to his ability. Where if we keep Fleury, what do we do after this year? Who do we have in net after this year?
Dylan Ferguson and Logan Thompson.
Is Logan Thompson ready to take over? No, that's what I mean. No. So I think they pretty much said, Bill, you're going to have to bite the bullet on this one.
I'm okay with Mr. Foley speaking from his heart, right? It was just as I think about it. Your team went 54, how many years before the Rangers? 54, some absurd number.
Not counting.
Okay.
1940 to 1994.
Okay.
Years.
The Red Wings went 40 some years before we were born and them winning the cups with the Russian 5 and stuff like this. Let's be gentle when we say this, but Mr. Foley saying a cup in 6 is absurd. It was when he said that before the franchise had even had a name or color scheme. That was a bit absurd. Okay.
He came pretty close.
He came damn close. And I think you and I agree. That's also part of the problem.
Yeah.
When you get that taste in your mouth.
Right, exactly.
Right?
It's like going to eat a Peter Luger's. Once you have a Peter Luger steak and someone says to you, hey, you want to go to Bonanza? And you look at them, where?
What?
Bonanza?
Yeah.
Or
So,
even if they say Outback, what? So, and the truth of the matter is that run in the first year was incredible, was amazing.
Yes.
But it kind of ruined the franchise because the whole idea was they were going to stockpile draft picks. They were going to be sellers
Exactly.
at the trade deadline in 2018.
And get pick after pick after pick after pick.
Right. And then they had to become buyers to try to fill what they thought was enough to win the cup. And they got pretty darn close. But you have to believe, and maybe one day in retrospect, we'll be able to ask George McPhee the question. How surprised are you that you got where you got so fast? And how incredibly disruptive was it to your initial entry plan into the league for, say, the first 5 seasons? That's not to pat myself on the back for thinking of a really smart question, but that's a question I would really like that I would pose to him if I ever got a chance to sit down or we had the chance to chat with him. And you know when you'll get an honest answer for him from him?
After he's gone.
After he's gone.
After he's gone.
Exactly. And all general managers eventually are gone. Hey, by the way, did you see that little segment where Gary Lawler said that he thinks Detroit should retire Fedorov's jersey? And you being a Detroit guy,
I did see that segment. And as much as he is the Vegas insider, I lived through that in Detroit. And the amount of disrespect that Sergei Fedorov showed to Mr. Ilitch by signing that offer and leaving for Anaheim for a couple $1 million more from a guy who's a billionaire.
You think that doesn't sit too well?
God rest his soul, Mr. Ilitch revived the franchise. And in my humble opinion, not that I'm smarter than Gary Lawless, because I certainly am not or as connected as him, but loyalty is an awfully big thing. And for as much as Sergei Fedorov did for the Detroit Red Wings, Mr. Ilitch got his ass out of Russia. And Mr. Ilitch made him wealthy beyond his wildest imagination and gave him a lifestyle and made him a made man. And for Fedorov to have that ugly disagreement with Mr. Ilitch and Mr. Devellano and with Scotty Bowman, and to sign that offer sheet and to make that deal and ultimately go to Anaheim, that's it. You don't think that ever can be. There's no olive branch ever in this situation. Look who's in the rafters. Look who the last 2 players in the rafters were. Steve Yzerman, Nick Lidstrom. The next guy going in the rafters, Pavel Datsyuk or Henrik Zetterberg. Zetterberg
goes in before Fedorov?
Yeah.
So you're saying Fedorov never goes in the rafters?
No, because the guy who owns the Red Wings, last name is Ilitch.
Yeah, but it's the son now, right?
No matter. Yeah, yes, it's the son. But listen, Scotty Bowman, they were talking about Scotty Bowman turned 88 years old. Jimmy Devellano must be 188 years old. Okay? That right, this is where I disagree with Gary Lawless. It wasn't Jimmy Devellano and Scotty Bowman. He offended Mr. Ilitch. He disrespected Mr. Ilitch. And as a kid who grew up playing from mite through school and watching Little Caesars literally sponsor hundreds and hundreds of youth hockey teams, all over the metropolitan Detroit area. I think Mr. Ilitch took it personally. If I had a vote, right, and I don't, he's not a loyal guy. He just, he could have ended his career as a Red Wing, and he'd already been up there. But he choose to try to force Mr. Ilitch's hand with this silly offer sheet thing, and Mr. Ilitch says, get the F out of here. And that was it, in my opinion. And I understand Gary Lawless's opinion, and it's very well taken. But if you were around that, if you were around the Red Wings, or you're a loyal Red Wings guy, like I've been a Red Wings guy my whole life, Mr. Ilitch did everything in the world for those guys, much like Mr. Foley does everything for the Golden Knights. The only difference is Mr. Ilitch never had a salary cap much to deal with. So if they went to him and said, we want a player, he just sort of handed them a check, and then they went out and got Shanahan and Brett Hull and those guys.
So I didn't follow the Red Wings, obviously, as much as you did. So if there was no salary cap, and during the federal affair, there wasn't, right?
Right.
Why did he just stand firm and not give Fedorov?
Because he thought he was being unreasonable. How he didn't appreciate the way that Fedorov was treating the negotiation, the way that the whole thing played out was just sort of ugly, and it was unnecessarily ugly.
I wasn't, not that I wasn't around, but I didn't follow it, obviously.
Listen, Mr. Ilitch could have paid him anything he wanted to pay him.
Right.
Right? Mr. Ilitch proved, and for older hockey fans, you can look back at the 4 Stanley Cups that the Red Wings won. Brendan Shanahan, Brett Hull, the Russian Five, Dominik Hasek. The man was not averse to spending money to win the cup. But if he did, how disrespected would you feel? Must he have felt for him to just say, listen, this guy's not loyal to me. He's unappreciative.
Right.
Fedorov was a star of the Red Army team, unquestionably. Fedorov is an absolute Hall of Famer in the NHL. One of the smoothest skating, best hockey players in 200 feet of the ice that I've ever seen. And I've seen lots of players, and you've seen lots of players. That kid could dominate the game from the puck drop from anywhere on the ice. But he pulled a scumbag move, in my opinion. Okay. And because of that, he can never go to the rafters at Little Caesars. So
it's fair to say you would be shocked if that day ever happens.
In this age of politically correct and everybody playing nice with everybody, I would say I wouldn't be shocked, but I'll tell you, I would be disappointed.
You would
How's
be
that?
disappointed. Okay.
Yeah, because I look at, again, not to be repetitive, look at Steve Yzerman's career. Look at Nick Lidstrom's career. Steve Yzerman was putting up 120 points a year till Scotty Bowman showed up, and he said, if you want to win the cup, you're going to have to recognize this zone where our goalie is. He said, if you need a tour, I'll have somebody take you down there, because I know you haven't seen it much before I got here, right? But when Steve Yzerman stopped being 120 point a year superstar and started defending, they hung 4 cups.
4 banners, yep.
Yeah. Scotty Bowman said, this is the formula to do it. And he got Steve Yzerman.
They should have beat the Devils that year, too.
I don't
know. They later the Devils.
So I think that, to bring it back to what we're talking about, I don't think Fleury has any animosity to Mr. Foley. It's hard to. I think Mr. Foley is a very shrewd businessman, but I think he's a good guy. You know what I mean? And I think that everything that he said that you and I chuckle at, playoffs in 5, cup in 6, and all those other crazy things he said, I'm totally cool with him saying it, but I didn't take it seriously.
But and here's another thing we've discussed. We talked about the most likely entrance into the Hall of Fame for Florida. And he said, does he go in as a Vegas Golden Knight? Does he go in as Pittsburgh Penguin? And we said, maybe he goes and puts the dual hat on, so to speak. That's not happening anymore.
No, he's going in as a pen.
He's going in as a Penguin.
100%.
100%.
100%. 110%.
And it's a shame because
Listen, he could have had he would have had the first statue outside T-Mobile.
he's so loved here in Las Vegas. Still is.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. All right. We went off on a crazy rant, but let's finish with our new favorite game. I say, you say.
You know what I found out about this game?
What did you find out?
That no one directs questions back at you.
I know. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Oh, okay.
I
I would have had a couple of words I would have sent you away.
So this edition of the I Say You Say game has to do with broadcast and broadcasters. Broadcast from the past, from the present. This is all about the Vegas Golden Knights game presentation. You ready?
Okay. Go ahead.
And actually, I'll answer each one of those, even though I'm posing the question. Okay. If I say Gary Lawless, you say
Manitoba Mafia.
I say the inside guy.
Okay.
He knows 10,000 times more than he shares with us. He's the ultimate team guy.
Well, that's why I say the Manitoba Mafia. Like the Mafia is all about the sealed boots, and they only say what needs to be said. Gary's an intelligent hockey man.
He's a brilliant hockey.
Yeah.
Okay. Darren Millard.
A little bit of a rough edge to him. It seems that, in my opinion, he seems to rub people sometimes the wrong way.
Okay. To me, he's the best in the game.
Okay.
He was with Hockey Night in Canada for millennium. He's a very, very smart hockey guy. He has a bit of a quick wit to him, and he has some sneaky sarcasm, and he can dig the needle a little bit. You know, he can give somebody the business some.
Right, and that's why I say a little bit of an edge to him.
But as the conductor of the Vegas Golden Knights production orchestra, I don't think that there's anybody, I don't believe that there is anybody better in the NHL.
Okay.
Next up, Shane Knighty.
Okay. I think he's very good at what he does. He makes Dave Gosher even better than Dave is. Dave is real good. But
we're going to him next. So
yeah, I understand that, but I like Shane. I always like to hear someone who's played the game as a color guy, you know, and he's played the game not maybe as a sixth defenseman, you know, a bottom rung guy. So he earned his stripes, and he's able to kind of explain that to the knowledgeable, to not only to the knowledgeable fans, but to the new fans. I think Shane does a great job at what he does.
I would say knows his role and executes it very well. And I would also add, I think in the realm of all the games that we watch and all the color guys that we hear around the league, I'd say he's a little underrated. He's as much as sometimes I find him a little bit on the arrogant side and a little bit off-putting in his demeanor. I respect his hockey knowledge, and I respect even more, like you said, how he communicates the game at a level where casual fans can get it, as opposed to talking to the highbrow hockey guys in a real smart hockey market like Boston.
Right. He's and he's not as sociable up in the press box as you would like. Dave Gosher is very sociable. Dave will always say, "Hey, how you doing? What's going on?" Where Shane, it's almost like you got to pull words out of it. He speaks. Maybe he speaks too much on TV that when he gets off, he don't want to say anything because he's got this wall around him, from at least my perspective of him, where Dave seems to be more relaxed and more friendly. And I love Dave's calls. I mean, when I sit on the road games, when I sit directly below him, because down at T-Mobile now, they broadcast from the top of the lower bowl. But on the road games, most of the time they're sitting directly behind me, and Dave's voice is just booming. And it's how he's almost anticipating the play, and his voice rises with the severity of what's going on. I love the way, and I've been spoiled because I've had a lot of great announcers in the New York area.
Sure.
And yeah, and
we both have.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had Ken Daniels and Mickey Redmond, and you've had Sam Rosen's,
Sam Rosen,
Joe Micheletti, and
yeah,
and I've had Hockey Night in Canada my whole life.
Yeah. So Dave is first class, by the way.
First class is, I think, the correct answer.
Yeah.
I would say that he was a great get from Boston.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be how.
Do you think that Shane coming over was part of Dave Gosher's doing, or no? Huh?
Where's Shane from?
Manitoba.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
We're back to the Manitoba
We're
Mafia.
back to the okay. Ashley Weiss.
She brings a different element to the game than the first couple of ringside reporters that Vegas has employed. When I go through them like underwear.
One a year.
One a year, basically, right? Well, I didn't.
The first one was 2 years.
2 years.
And then she's in Anaheim.
Then we had Stormy.
Right.
We had Stormy for 2 years.
Right.
So does Allie, here's my question. Does Allie last longer than 2 years?
I think so. And my I say you say answer is she's the most hockey knowledgeable of the ringside reporters that we've had so far.
Yeah.
And you can and she has she has something that a lot of players don't have. She has cup experience. She was in St. Louis. She was in St. Louis. So she has a moxie about her. She's not as forward. Like, we saw a lot more of Stormy. Like, when we were in the post-game press conferences last couple of years, Stormy was always in the room and she always got a question. Ashley seems to, when she has something she wants to ask, she asks it. Otherwise, she's kind of cool, just kind of doing whatever. I think she's the most knowledgeable that we've had and the most likely to continue for quite a while.
Well, in Stormy's defense and in Ashley's defense, the whole post-game genre is all different now.
For sure.
Ashley gets the quote-unquote star of the game after the game, and then there's no locker room access. There's just a press room, conference room, and she kind of defers to us guys who we don't get a chance to ask the players questions, where she does. And she's respectful in that sense, like, she's had her chance to ask questions between the first and second, between the second and third, and post game. So she kind of gives us the, go ahead, guys, it's your turn now.
I think she as a whole, she asks better questions, consistent, because she knows the game well, and I appreciate that, because there's only so much you can really get out of that, especially in game. He's missing the coaches chat and the reviews and stuff like that. So Ashley has 90 seconds maybe to get a couple of nuggets, and I think she's pretty good.
She does a good job. My question is, does she have a Stanley Cup ring because she was on the broadcast team? Because I know the Ranger broadcast guys have Stanley Cup rings. I wonder if she has a Stanley Cup ring.
If you're watching this, Sage, we would like to have Ashley on the podcast, because Joe would like to ask her if she got a Stanley Cup ring in St. Louis.
Well, I would like her to wear it.
I'd like her to floss.
Not even answer the question, but I ask her, all she does is this.
Right. Here he goes. Here he goes, Stugotz. There you go.
Stugotz.
Okay. Paul Bissonnette.
another bottom six guy who's somehow found this great internet following and got himself a spot on TNT. I mean, if you think of all the hockey guys that could be on that panel, so to speak, you have Wayne Gretzky and Paul Bissonnette. You could not go from North Pole to South Pole. I mean, that's the difference between those two. I mean, Rick Tockett's a knowledgeable guy. You don't
But
think
he's salty though.
Rick Tocchet?
He's a little salty, but I like it. I like
He was
it.
salty on the ice too.
Yeah, he was very salty on the ice. I agree.
You know, I like the content that Bissonnette provides, him and Whitney, you know, Spitting Chicklets. I mean, I enjoy their podcast and their stuff. I just don't see him as, and I know why he got the gig. And actually, I shouldn't say I know why. I ran that question by you. How did Paul Bissonnette get that gig and you had 1 million Twitter followers or some huge number like that?
Enormous.
So, he's a funny guy. Does he deserve the job? No, but he got it because of he's marketed himself well.
I say 1,000 times better on TV than he ever was on the ice.
Yeah, well, that's the bar kind of low.
yeah, that's the vertical jump of a pizza box. Let's finish up with the 2-part question. This year is the first year of the TNT /ESPN, ESPN Plus coverage after many, many years of NBCSN. How are the new guys? How do you think the new guys are doing?
Well, the fact that we don't have to look at Mike Milbury anymore, that's a great start.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a great start. I think they're doing well. I just don't like that sometimes the games are blacked out for the fans. Like you and I, we get to see all the games. But sometimes you can be here in Vegas and you don't get to see the game unless you purchased ESPN Plus or the Hulu package or whatever, or the DirecTV Center Ice package. I don't like that. In other words, it's more of a money grab for the NHL. They went along with this, but they're depriving their fans of seeing their home games.
I think they're doing okay. Obviously, the NHL pregame, in between period, and post-game show on TBS. I mean, they're trying to recreate the chemistry of the NBA crew.
NBA, yeah.
With Shaq and Kenny and those guys. And having, I don't want to say the fool or the clown, but having the comic side, you know, Bissonnette happens to sit on the same side that Shaq sits on the set, right? And he's the wisecracker. And I mean, I think they're doing okay. You know, I think that, I mean, ESPN has a great show called The Point that only airs like once a week, and it's impossible to find. The only reason I know there was an episode is because it shows up on my DVR. But it's, you know, it's Levy and it's
You're talking about Steve Levy, right?
Yeah, and Torts. And you know, so and that's great hockey talk. I mean, because Torts is Torts, right? He's not any different. So, I mean, I think they're doing okay. I do think the fans got jammed a little bit, like you said.
Jammed a lot.
You know, I mean, when we're sitting in the press box trying to figure out how we can't find a game, and you and I and the guys upstairs in the press box are awfully resourceful at finding hockey games. If we can't find a game, that's bad for the fans.
Right.
And you know, not everybody wants to shell out all the dough for DirecTV, even though it is the best coverage of the NHL.
Yeah, I'm willing to give the fans in Vegas a huge tip. Go down to T-Mobile. If you don't have a ticket, wait outside and go on AXS or any of the after secondary markets and wait till like 5 or 10 minutes before the game starts. And you'll be able to get in at maybe a third of the ticket value, because if you can't get in, if they can't sell them, the people who are trying to sell these tickets, they'll take pennies on the dollar rather than lose the whole entire ticket. So there is a way to get to the games without having to spend, you know, your college, your kids' college education fund.
And yeah, we'll deal with season ticket holders and gifts and everything like that on another episode.
I can't wait list.
Going forward, the Golden Knights are on the plane. They're on their way back. The Golden Knights East are on their way to the Fortress Tuesday night. Alex Tuck, Cody Eakin.
They're in Arizona, right? They played Arizona tonight.
Yeah. It's Alex Tuck, Peyton Krebs, Cody Eakin, Malcolm Subban, and
Colin Miller.
And Colin Miller. So if you like tribute videos, Tuesday night might be
movie night.
Might be movie night. Get your popcorn ready. We might have a lot of video tributes, and then we're going to sort out the schedule because the schedule is all jumbled up. They're going to go to the All-Star break. It's going to be here in Vegas. I don't know about you, Joe. I ain't going.
You're not going to
go? No. No. I doubt I'll even watch it. I have no interest in that chicanery. But when they come back, instead of having 3 weeks off, there's 4, 5, 6 games in there now. So we're going to have content. Yeah, we're going to have content because we've got some good games coming up in the artist formerly known as the All-Star break. We got the Avs, we got the Kings. We've got some quality content coming up for you. I say, you say, if you want to hear Joe and I ramble on about something, anything, send us your suggestions. They won't always be theme nights. It'll be just sort of what I dream up while we're talking. But send your comments, send your suggestions. Hit the like button and the subscribe button that you see flashing up there during the podcast. Share it with your friends. And send us a comment. We'll answer. If you want to have some witty repartee or you want to say something bad about us, that's okay. We're grown men, but just know that we're going to respond in kind. So if you want to battle, Joe and I are here to give it to you. I mean, Joe probably won't. He'll just say, "Could you answer that?" But because Joe's nice. But this is the end.
I'm diplomatic.
Yeah, okay. Joe's politically correct and diplomatic, and well, I might not be. That is the end of episode 3. Joe, it's 10:15 at night after the Golden Knights 3-2 happy and frustrating shootout win over the Tampa Bay Lightning. They finished the road trip with a couple of wins, a loss, and an overtime loss. 5 points out of 8 on that 4 out of 6 day road trip. It's a big win. But man, oh man, I would like to not pull my hair out watching them go shotless in the third period anymore. That's the thought I'm going to close with.
Painful to watch.
Painful to watch. That's it, folks. We're out of here. Episode 33 is a wrap. And we'll be back at you again next week with some more fun and interesting content. Everybody be good. Take care.